It's independent off-tube studio commentary, FA Cup fourth round weekend, and it's an all-Premier League clash at Goodison Park as Everton take on Brentford. First game in charge for Everton manager Frank Lampard, and a surprise in the Brentford 11 with their first keeper, David Raya, back in the team. Everton straight away on the attack with the ball played towards Demari Gray, and straight away David Raya called into action, clearing the ball long. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz and Tom Hill taking you through the action. Tom, this should be quite an open game, hopefully.
Do you know what, Paul? I'm looking at this game and suggesting to myself with a bit of optimism, maybe it's just the fact that I've not commentated for a couple of days, that I'm looking forward to it. You've got a new manager bouncing Everton. I'm not Lampard's biggest fan in that respect because I think the jury's still out, but I wish him well. I hope it's a success in terms of, I think Everton, if he gets it right, I've got such a good squad as they come forward, flying with Richarlison eventually, but Ponte gets across. And I was just saying to you beforehand, I've got a bit of time for Brentford taking this competition seriously. I think it's a bit of breath of fresh air that a team at this level try and name the strongest possible team and give their fans something to dream about. And there's hopefully got a making of a good game.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned that the new bounce for Everton. When you think that they had such a strong squad, I'll break off from that because they're on the attack getting now. Seamus Coleman getting to the edge of the area. Michael Oliver thinking about a free kick there, but deciding that it is just going to be play on. But from Everton's point of view, they were underachieving under Rafa Benitez. There's no doubt about that. So now, under Frank Lampard, a lot of players are going to have a point to prove.
Yeah, well, I remember watching them the first few weeks, and they were really impressive. Very impressive at certain performances. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, though, is one of the heartbeats of that team and one of the reasons why they're so successful. I don't believe his absence helped their cause whatsoever, but you just think some of the performances, I think that defeat to Norwich was just such an embarrassing sort of turnaround, wasn't it, for them to be the players that they've signed as well. And that's the one thing that the board backed him. They gave him the money he wanted, they gave him the players he asked for, and they were going nowhere. So, yeah, I think Lampard coming in, he wants to get the best of these players, the likes of Dele Alli and Van der Beek, which, of course, are not starting today, but it gives them that opportunity to, in the future, impress. But of course, you say competition for places. We know, obviously, with cup tie issues, those guys might not feature the next couple of weeks in this competition. But you've got the players out there today that are wanting to keep them out of the league team as well.
Absolutely, yes. So a couple of minutes on the clock. It is goalless here at Goodison Park, but we have got goals elsewhere. Quite a few, in fact, with Palace taking an early lead against Hartlepool and Fulham taking an early lead away at Manchester City as well. Of course, we very nearly had some early shocks in the earlier games today with Kidderminster Harriers leading against West Ham until the very last minute before West Ham got an equaliser, then going on to win after extra time. And similarly, Chelsea trailing at home to Plymouth for a long spell before they equalised, took that game to extra time and they got through. There was a shock yesterday, of course, Tom, with Middlesbrough beating Manchester United at Old Trafford on penalties.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointment for Manchester United. Fantastic news for Middlesbrough for a scalp. It opens up for one of these two teams. Naturally, you would say Manchester United should be in the later stages of a competition like that, and if these two can get a win today, or one of them, of course, it's one big boy out. I think Man City will probably respond against Fulham, but yeah, you've got a dream. It's always a possibility in this competition. It's why it's so special. And for me and yourself that have supported so-called lower league teams over the last 10-15 years, we know all about that with the prospect of hopefully a cup run. But it's been a relatively slow start. While everyone at a couple of games, Man City have responded straight away.
Absolutely, yeah.
We've barely had a shot 4 minutes in.
Yeah, it looks like Fulham might have just poked the bear there by getting an early lead at the Etihad. City very quick to equalise. This game has kicked off a couple of minutes behind the others as well, so we're at 4 minutes. Other games are at sort of 5 or 6 minutes, but it is Everton seeing most of the ball in the early stages. It's with Holgate now, goes over towards Coleman on the right-hand side, just under a bit of pressure there from Rico Henry. Back to Holgate, he's under pressure from Sergi Canos, who's back in a more attacking role this afternoon. Not really sure I like Canos in that midfield four. There's too much defensive responsibility for him there, but he's got a more attacking position today. But here come Everton again, down the right-hand side, a ball in towards Richarlison. He hits the deck. Referee Michael Oliver immediately waits for him to stand up. Richarlison did want a penalty, but Everton still keep possession with Alan now at the edge of the area. Just rolls that ball in towards Seamus Coleman, back over towards Andre Gomez. And now on the halfway line here with Michael Keane. The home side looking confident here in the first few minutes. Not really giving Brentford much of a chance on the ball. Canos immediately robbed of it there as he tried to take possession for Brentford. And now Andre Gomez gets away from Tony and plays the ball over towards the right-hand side, but just eludes Seamus Coleman. But Richarlison's still got that angry look on his face. He feels as though he might have been brought down here.
Richarlison's always got an angry look on his face, and if he thinks that's a penalty, he wants to quit the game. He backs into the player and then just lifts both his feet off the air and throws himself backwards.
I'm not even sure that Aya had time to get close enough to him, and he was already hitting the deck.
Well, it should be a yellow card for a dive. It's an awful attempt at diving. I mean, I used to like Richarlison in terms of a bit of his swagger, but now he's just becoming across like a bit of a spoilt brat.
He is. There's that very sort of close mix, isn't there, with Richarlison? On the one hand, he needs that sort of that mood, that temperament to help him in his game, but he does sometimes let it go too far the other way. Brentford, in the meantime, have got forward. Ball was cleared out for a throw, and Brentford have a whole list of players who can take a long throw, but it's Mads Bech Sorensen who's come across to take this one. And he's level with the penalty area. He's going to try and launch it into the box. Plenty of Brentford shirts inside that penalty area. Aims at the near post. It drops to Aya, takes it onto his left foot, puts a cross in, which deflects off the dive of Alan, and it's out for a Brentford corner.
I like that from Aya. He took his time, didn't rush it. I think a normal, natural centre-back would have just put his foot through it and hoped for the best, but he tried to find that pocket of space, Paul, in the 6-yard box, and unfortunately had to settle for a corner. But of course, in this situation, it's certainly better than nothing.
Absolutely. Still plenty of players inside that penalty area. Ivan Toney now sporting a new haircut. Of course, he's got some Browning points to make up with the Brentford fans after his little outburst during the winter break. But it's going to be whipped in now by Jensen from the left-hand side. It's straight onto the head of... it looks like it was Godfrey with the header. And in the meantime, there was a bit of pushing and shoving there from Brentford captain Pontus Jansson. So it'll be a free kick to Everton.
Jansson, I think he's trying to claim that maybe that the guilty party is Pickford here. Of course, we know keepers' union is to protect them at all times, but Jansson was certainly suggesting that maybe Pickford fouled him, so that could be a battle to watch out for if Brentford get a few more set pieces, Paul.
Well, it's just taken short here. Everton now clearing it long with Pickford up towards the halfway line. Bit of a heavy touch there from Demari Gray, but does really well to keep possession. Goes back to Alan. Ball now switched over towards Holgate. He's under pressure straight away from Vitaly Janelt, and the German does give the free kick away, taken quickly. Everton just trying to inject a little bit more pace into the game. It's down the left-hand side now with Vitaly Mikalenko. Very interested to see how the Ukrainian is going to bed down in the Premier League, of course, after Luka Dean joining Aston Villa. On clearance now from Pickford up towards the halfway line, headed on by Andre Gomez. And it just goes out of play. Just a little bit too quick there for Anthony Gordon to be able to keep that. Frank Lampard just telling his players to calm down. But as you said, it's a big test for Lampard. He did well at Derby, then got that big promotion to Chelsea. Didn't quite work out for him there. And now, of course, this is a big role at Everton now.
It's massive, but I've just been looking at the backroom staff behind him. He's got Paul Clement, who, of course, ex-first-team manager. He's been at Real Madrid. He's got Duncan Ferguson, who we know is synonymous with his football club. He's got Ashley Cole. He's got Leighton Baines. He's signed the man, which, apologies, his name's escaped me, from Chelsea, that everybody raves about at Stamford Bridge. So he's surrounding himself with good people, which I think is essential for this next few months, just to get them stabilised, get them the confidence back, and then hopefully can try and bring the best out of those attacking flair players. But yeah, it's a huge gamble really, because they're in a relegation scrap at the minute.
They absolutely are, and it's a sort of mix of new people brought in by Lampard with a few coaches left over from the previous regime as well. But here come Everton now down the left-hand side. Godfrey threads a ball into Richarlison. Richarlison turns, gets a shot away. He worked so hard to find the space that he couldn't really get the balance to get the shot away with any power, and it's wide anyway. Yeah,
I like that though from the Brazilian. Good first touch in terms of it just takes it away from the defender. It wasn't the best for striking of the ball in terms of his contact, but I think it's the second touch that maybe puts him off. But yeah, the first touch took the defender away from him. Then he's got the option of taking it away. A little bit of twinkle toes. It isn't the greatest effort, is it? But again, from your striker that's barely had a touch inside the box, I'd be happy if I was an Everton fan.
Yeah, he's still just trying to get find his feet in this game. 9 minutes gone. It is goalless at Goodison Park. And looking across the other scores, if anything sort of immediately strikes, it's just that game at the Etihad. City 1, Fulham 1, and Palace 1, Hartlepool 0, goalless in the other FA Cup games kicking off at 3 o'clock. There's some later games in the FA Cup as well. Cambridge taking on Luton at 5:30, and then Tottenham against Brighton at 8 o'clock. But in the meantime, Brentford have won the ball back. It's played back towards Christopher Aya. Under pressure there from Gray, goes back to David Raya. I'm still shocked to see him in the team today. It really is a surprise. Brentford keeping that a little bit of a secret, because it did look, for all intents and purposes, that he wasn't going to be able to play until the end of March.
Yeah, but it's smart tactics in terms of, maybe, especially when it comes to January window, where the clubs were trying to tout a keeper to them, keeping their cards close to their chest. He is their number one. He's, you know a lot more about him than I do, but the games I've seen, I've been very impressed. And it just seems to me that it'll give everybody that's associated with the club a bit of a breather. It's just that relief of one shock, and once you've got over the shock, relief.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, his distribution's excellent. It's one of the reasons why Brentford fans will be so happy to see him back in goal. And of course, Alvaro Fernandez thrown into the deep end, really didn't really step up to the mark, and it'll be a relief, I think, for the Brentford defenders as well to know that Raya is behind them. But Everton once again piling forward. Brentford win the ball back. It's now over on the right-hand side here with Ruslev. Gets closed down and leaves the ball now for David Raya. So it has been a bit of a slow start in this game, albeit Everton seeing a bit more of the ball. And Brentford have brought a large travelling contingent for this game as well. Of course, they were in Liverpool recently for the game at Anfield in the league where they lost 3-0. But here come Everton now, down the right with Anthony Gordon. Plays it back in towards Demari Gray. That was a very risky slide there from Vitaly Janelt. He didn't connect with Demari Gray, but had he done so, it would have been a nailed-on penalty. It's with Coleman now, down the right-hand side, tangling with Rico Henry. Everton still keep the ball now. It's with Andre Gomez going square, having to play it back towards Alan now. And he plays it back to Ben Godfrey, who is hobbling. And I'm not even sure if he's got enough power here to actually kick the ball at himself. No, he's deliberately handballed it to give the free kick away.
I think Ivan Toney was going to let him stop. So Godfrey's just panicked. But yeah, I mean, it's serious. I mean, he's on halfway. Brentford are I'm not going to score, but he's just tapped the back of the hamstring.
Yeah, he has. I think, as you said, I don't think there's any danger of Brentford kicking the ball away from him and then charging up the other end. It was clear that Godfrey was trying to get play stopped anyway, and he realised that Brentford man was close to him, so he just sort of put his hands on the ball just to stop it getting away from him. But quite a strong bench here for Everton.
Yerri Mina would be, you'd like to think, the obvious option, but they could shuffle the pack as well.
They could do, absolutely. Yes, they've got Branthwaite as well, big, tall defender. Saw him play on loan for Blackburn last season, where he took a chunk off a Middlesbrough player's head when he tried to go for a high ball inside the penalty area.
Well, I think Michaelenko can also play centre-half if he has to, whether they'd want to do that. But again, they could bring in a couple more options. You could maybe bring on the new man in Patterson at full-back, but Mina should be the easiest. But he's having to be helped off by Gomez and one of the physios, so I think it's perhaps a sign of the break and then the intensity. And
yeah, I think so.
I'll blame the wind and the cold as well.
I think so. He went after, it was after Sergi Canos, wasn't it? Canos was just trying to turn. I think that's when Godfrey felt a bit of a twinge, and he's had to go off. Yerri Mina, the big Colombian, is getting ready to come on for Everton, so it looks like they're not going to shuffle too much. They just want to keep that formation they have for the time being.
I think it's sensible, isn't it? I think you've got to respect them as well. Brentford are a dangerous beast in that respect. I think they've got some players that can create problems if you've got a bit of a misjointed team. This is not a giant killing, is it, for either side to win? They're both Premier League outfits, and it's just not an ideal start to Lampard's tenure. But he'll be no stranger to this. He's experienced enough. He had a couple of years in the dugout, and to go from getting your first 11 out there, and then it all has to stop. But the lack of weight he can put on that is the worry for me from a long-term perspective for Everton. We know hamstrings could be up to several months if it's totally come off the bone. So fingers crossed for him. It's something he can recover from pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, he certainly seemed to pull up quickly, and now he's having to sort of use both banisters there on the stairs going down the tunnel to actually help himself along. So let's hope it's nothing too serious for Ben Godfrey. Yerri Mina, big centre-back Colombian international, is on the field now in his place. The ball is with Jordan Pickford, pressing here from Ivan Toney. He goes square to Mason Holgate, who then clears it up towards the halfway line. The ball bouncing over Richarlison, and Pontus Jansson getting tangled with it. And now a chance here for Anthony Gordon. He gets to the edge of the area, tries to thread a ball through. It almost gets through to Richarlison before Henry's able to just flick that ball away from the edge of the area. And now potentially a chance for Brentford to go on the counter, although Norgard gets stopped on the halfway line before it's eventually hoofed out by Madsbæk Sorensen, and out for a throw to Everton. But Pontus Jansson, it's not the first time. He has looked exposed on a couple of occasions this season, just a little bit off the pace, a little bit heavy with the touch, and there again just a little bit too casual, trying to do a little flick there at the edge of his own box.
Yeah, he did that a lot at Leeds, where he would try and play out quite nonchalantly, and really you needed someone to take command of that. Sometimes he can get a bit too confident in his own ability, and it puts himself under pressure. But at least on the other side of things, you are going to get someone that will put his head in where it hurts. He tries to lead by example in that respect. So
he certainly does. I mean, there have been a few occasions this season where he's been the last man playing opposition players on side as well. You'd really want your captain to be the one setting the line.
Well, in that situation there, Paul, fair enough, he's got too tight. That's his first mistake. Then he's obviously misjudged the flight of the ball. So then you think, right, I've made two mistakes. Why not play it sensible and just kick it with the inside of the foot out for a throw-in? Why backheel it, try to get it over an opposition man to a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very high-risk thing. There was a very high fail rate with that as well, as Janssen goes crashing in to Richarlison. And the Brentford man is going to get a telling off here, I think, from Michael Oliver. He looks a little bit dazed by it all, but it did look to me as though just a little bit careless there from Pontus Janssen. It may well be just trying to unsettle Richarlison a little bit. But he was never close to winning that header, though, was he?
I have absolutely no idea what he's just done that for. He's just headed the back of Richarlison's back. I know what you're saying, though, in terms of has he done it to just try and get under the skin a little bit? Because he knows he's the one that maybe could get a card, get sent off, and get under the influence of the referee. But in terms of his own physical state, that was stupid. Oh,
it was. I mean, he's definitely the one who's likely to take the bait there, Richarlison. But it can also work. Can also work the other way. He can use it as fuel to really try and motivate himself to prove a point. It's gone out for a throw to Brentford down the left-hand side. 16 minutes gone. It is still goalless here in this FA Cup fourth round match. And just to tell you, Man City do lead 2-1 against Fulham. Palace still lead 1-0 against Hartlepool. Stoke have now taken the lead at home to Wigan Athletic. Not too much happening in the other games so far. And a ball out towards Demari Gray, just put out for a throw. But the worry for Brentford is, other than that throw-on and corner, they've not really had any kind of attacking possession at all.
Absolutely nothing, have they? It's a pretty good point. I mean, I'm just sort of thinking about the game itself as a spectacle. And I actually think the tempo is quite good, Paul. I think they're both trying at least to attack, but I think the ball's gone in the Brentford travelling section and they're not giving it back to the Everton player. It's just stopping the flow of the game. But I mean, I always think Brentford were going to come and try and sit back. Everton at home, new team, new look manager. I think they're always going to try and dictate, but you'd like a little bit more attacking output.
Well, you would. There's a bouncing ball inside the penalty area. Now all of a sudden a second ball appears on the pitch. Brentford fans having a bit of fun there, it would appear. But the Brentford defenders certainly, again, just a little bit slow to react, as this throw is taken by Mikalenko, flicked on by Richarlison, and it bounces once, bounces nearly twice before it finds Demari Gray. That should have been dealt with a lot quicker.
Is that Sorensen that was letting it bounce a couple of times? If that was a training exercise, I think he'd be off. They'd be replacing him, putting someone else at centre half. Absolutely ludicrous defending. It's the old cliche: never let the ball bounce. And then to let it bounce twice while Everton were just running forward was criminal sort of defending. But they got away with it, so I guess that's all that matters in the end. If you can learn from it, then fair enough. But nearly halfway through this first half, it's if Brentford wanted a game, Paul, for David Raya to come back into sort of an easy start just to get himself familiar, this is it. 20 minutes, he's done nothing.
No shots on target from either side so far. Everton with 62% possession to Brentford's the 38. Just to tell you that in the Yorkshire derby in the FA Cup today, Huddersfield have just taken the lead against Barnsley in that all-championship clash. As Richarlison now under pressure here from Christopher Ayer, turns and runs straight into Mads Roslev, I should say, out for a throw to Everton now down the left-hand side. It's with Vitaly Mikalenko. Pretty quiet game from him so far, but certainly Everton seeing more of the ball in these early stages as Mikalenko's throw goes towards Richarlison, just loses his balance there. The Everton number 7 out for a Brentford throw. Thomas Frank has been praised for the way that he's handled this whole Christian Eriksen situation. Of course, I still find it amazing that Brentford were even linked with him, let alone they actually managed to sign him. But of course, there is going to be a question mark over the fitness and everything else like that. But to me, the distribution and what he brings in terms of set pieces is exactly what Brentford need. And we'll just get your thoughts on that in a second. Brentford are now trying to push forward, although Everton back in numbers and it's back on the halfway line.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Brentford's relegation side, well, we had a chat straight away about that when the results started to drop and the reserve keeper had come in, and I think that was my biggest worry for Brentford, that the longer they couldn't get a keeper, were they going to be out of it in terms of points? They've done very well, I think, respectable effort to be out of that bottom 3. You said to me, I think it was last week or the week before, if you'd have said to Brentford fans, you'll be in this position at this stage of the season, transfer deadline day, they'd have snapped your hand off. So to get him back a month after that and a couple of is so valuable. I just hope for his sake he stays fit.
Absolutely. As the ball now over on the right-hand side here for Roslev inside to Norgard. Norgard going back towards David Raya. Just a little bit more possession for Brentford now in these last few minutes, but still all of it in their own half, really. Norgard over towards Beck Sorensen now on the left-hand side. Canos has dropped a little bit deeper, and he's got some space on that left-hand side as Brentford look. He gets all the way to the edge of the area, runs straight into Yerri Mina, and then Seamus Coleman is able to mop up. He goes back towards Pickford, and Tony gets in the way of that. It forces Pickford to slice his clearance. Jensen was closing it down. It just about gets away from the penalty area. Brentford still in possession down the right-hand side here now with Christopher Ayer going back towards Norgard. His ball towards the edge of the area, headed up in the air by Michael Keane before it's played up towards the halfway line. Gordon takes it down for Andre Gomez. It's now with Mikalenko down the left-hand side. Back to Gordon. Closed down here by Roslev. And he goes back towards Holgate. And now with Michael Keane. But that's with someone like Jordan Pickford in goal. You've got to be so careful to give him passes like that. Richarlison, by the way, has just gone into an offside position. It will be a free kick to Brentford. But that wasn't good there, playing that ball back towards Pickford.
What was hilarious about that entire move was Pickford was telling it, once it had settled down, he was telling everyone else to calm down. Obviously, his lack of a clearance was the catalyst, or eventually the outcome of it. But yeah, for Coleman's perspective, very naive to not even see the player coming towards him. He put his keeper under a whole heap of pressure, didn't even need to do so. Very luckily for Everton and Pickford in particular, the bobble of the bounce took it away from Tony.
It did. There's a foul on the Demari Gray. Referee Michael Oliver gives Everton the advantage. They probably had that advantage now. They've put a couple of passes together since then. They're still at the edge of the area now with Gordon breaking into the box. He sets it up here for Mikalenko. Left-footed cross. Good header away by Pontus Jansson. Then ball hooked up in the air by Canos. Doesn't get much distance on it. Gets a lot of height. Still at the edge of the Brentford penalty area. And then there's a shove on Ivan Toney from Mason Holgate. And that will be a free kick to Brentford, still inside their own half.
Yeah, I think Tony's done very well in terms of dropping back. They need to do that, really. Brentford have not got any sustained possession, and they need him to start winning a few of those free kicks. Needless, really, from Holgate's perspective, because I think if he just stands off a little bit, the ball was going to bounce away from Ivan Toney. But yeah, I think Everton themselves, they're showing a lot of desire to take the lead, but just that final quality. But again, it's been, less than a week, has it, with the new manager, the tactics, the coaches. I'm sure it's been a little bit rampant and a bit down their throats, all these different instructions. So to get it right in this game against a team that's playing a back five or a back three, three centre-halves, is always going to be pretty tough.
Absolutely, it's not going to happen overnight, but Everton now just trying to get a little bit more possession again after a little spell where Brentford were starting to see a bit more of it in midfield. It's out for a throw to Everton down the left-hand side. It's with Vitaly Mikalenko. He's waiting to see where his teammates are. Short throw to Richarlison, back to Mikalenko. Andre Gomez now flicks that ball back. Does it stay in play? I don't think it does. It's going to be out for a throw to Everton as Mads Bech Sorensen there trying to keep the ball in play. Ivan Toney on our screens now. He's hardly had a chance to even get onto the ball, really. Last time we saw him winning a free kick, Brentford was still deep inside his own half. But now Richarlison at the edge of the area felt as though he was being impeded by Pontus Jansson. Referee Michael Oliver doesn't agree. We've gone towards the halfway mark in this first half. It's Everton 0, Brentford in. It will be Tom to take us through to half-time.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Just as you say, Ivan Toney has not had a couple of touches. He finally gets several. It's about 6 or 7 in a row, and he's still going. Ivan Toney driving through the middle of midfield. Gomez brings him down. That could be a yellow card offence, really. He puts his arm across towards the referee to apologise, but he's still going to get a card, and that is exactly what Ivan Toney is in the team to do. It was majestic footwork from him.
It was, and that's exactly what he needs to do, is say just to get himself into the game. He flicks the ball up, gets away from Alan, who tries twice to stop him, and then more of an effort from Gomez to bring the man down rather than to win the ball.
So, yellow card for Gomez. Ball over the top looking for Toney. Pickford comes off his line, catches with relative ease, and now he's whipping his arms around down the pitch to suggest to his teammates that they need to get further forward. Here now is Holgate. He goes inside to Alan. Alan goes forward. It's a really good ball towards Demari Gray, who turns past a couple of markers and is going to be stopped in his tracks by the pressurising run of Janelt. Here is Alan. Back to Gomez. He's got options on the far right hand side, including Coleman. Everton's ability to use wing-backs are practically been playing as wingers, to be honest, because Coleman and at one point Mikalenko were the two furthest players forward there. As here is Gordon. Coleman's asking for it again in behind. Gordon's going to keep carrying it towards goal. Left-footed drive, and it's the best effort of the match. It's taken us 25 minutes, though, Paul, and that was the first time David Raya's panicked. Yeah,
he was having to just track back a little bit there, David Raya, just to make sure that he was in the right position. Mina with the ball out towards Seamus Coleman. He threads that in towards Alan, and then Gordon does really well just to turn away from Sorensen and to get this strike away. Clips it well with the left foot, just dipping a little bit too late.
I like him. He's he's very robust, gets his head down, drives forward. He's actually been the tidiest player in an Everton shirt on the ball today.
He has. He's looked good. I was impressed with him a few times under Rafa Benitez's tenure as well. I just say he is full of running. He's confident on the ball as well, which is always good to see in a young player who hasn't actually had that much time on the pitches yet.
Yeah, they'll no doubt, if in time this Lampard era works very well, I've got no doubt that if Gordon flourishes during it, they'll say that's his coaching and the fact he's brought an attacking midfielder the very best of him. But as you say, Paul, and quite rightly so, it was Rafa Benitez that gave him his chance, and he did score a couple of goals for the Spaniard. He's now the first man putting the press on as David Raya goes sideways looking for Sorensen. Sorensen's pass is blocked, but Brentford will get the throw. A couple of games that are 0-0 still are just this one and Wolves versus Norwich in the FA Cup. Other games elsewhere: Palace 2, Hartlepool 0, Huddersfield 1, Barnes 0, Man City 2, Fulham 1, Peterborough 1, QPR 0, and Southampton 0, Coventry 1, Stoke 1, Wigan 0. Brentford in possession down this right hand side. They go back into the middle. It's option for them to try and play it forward, but Oslev goes back, keeps possession. Probably the Brentford's first time in a while they've actually able to knock it around the back four and take their time. As I say that, they give it away. Allen forward to Demari Gray, who's occupying a lot of space in that number 10 position. He nutmegs the defender, comes flying forward, whips across towards Richarlison. It's cleared away off the legs of Swedish international Pontus Jansson. But Demari Gray is one of those players that when he's in full flight and he's playing with confidence, there isn't many better flamboyant players. He makes it look so easy. He's
so quick, isn't he? He's so quick on the ball, and I think it was a shrewd move for Everton to sign him because he couldn't quite get into that starting 11 at Leicester. I think Harvey Barnes just came of age at the wrong time for Demari Gray, really, at the King Power Stadium. But he's looked good here for Everton, and certainly one of these players that can make something out of nothing as well.
Yeah, Tony gets across to Pickford and have a bit of a push and a shove and try and get in each other's faces. Pickford not liking it. Ivan Toney isn't going to back away. And Ivan Toney, well, he had every right to try and challenge. Pickford is one of those characters that doesn't seem to get on with anybody unless they're his teammates, which in a way...
Well, he doesn't get on with his teammates all of the time. If stories of England camps are to be believed as well.
And he also shouts at everyone in the blue shirt in front of him. But sometimes I don't mind the attitude of that arrogance and that aggression to try and get a result. That was all a bit needless, though, from both players. But again, it shows for me that there's a lot of desire, Paul, from both teams. The 27 minutes gone, it's still goalless, but there's little niggling arguments popping up as Demari Gray goes past a Brentford player, then gets caught. There's a lot of, at least, intention to go and win this game. I think sometimes the FA Cup, you can see teams that are a bit frustrated for playing the competition. This has not had the feeling of that, for me at least, anyway.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think the way that the game has started, it's been a little bit devoid of attacking quality, certainly, but you can't argue with the intent of both teams. Certainly Everton starting the brighter. Rico Henry is now crouching down here for Brentford, a man who himself has had a couple of injury problems already this season. He had that severe collision with Matthias Jensen in the game against Wolves, and he's down again.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I don't want to see happen is too many injuries to pop up. We don't want to see the game spoiled for that. As we see Thomas Frank stood out on that far side. He flicks the ball away. It's back into the middle. Brentford on the attack again as they go back towards Sorensen. Here is Janelt. Janelt goes back and gets the ball. Good work. Here is Rico Henry. He's managed to shake off that problem with the eye, but then, as I say, that clearly not enough because he's kicked the ball out for a throw. So nearly half an hour gone, still goalless. I've one of only 2 FA Cup ties this afternoon without a goal. As Paul said right at the start of the piece, Chelsea 2, Plymouth 1, Kidderminster 1, West Ham 2, both of those after extra time. And I feel you would have liked to see Kidderminster get that extra playoff, extra replay money if they'd have gone all the way to extra time and it hadn't managed to be stopped by the Hammers. But it shows the quality for David Moyes' side that even though they played relatively poorly for the majority of that game, they got over the line in the end. So heartbreak for Kidderminster, who can hang their heads with real pride this afternoon, trying to come back in the competition. Brentford will hope to be into the next round like West Ham, so will Everton. It is Everton, though, that look like they're the most likely team to be putting themselves in their name into the hat for the next round. But again, David Raya has yet to make a save, so even though the intention is good and the play is certainly better from Everton on the ball, they've got nothing to show for it and not really that many signs it's going to improve. Maybe here with Demari Gray from Allen's pass. Gray turns away, lays it out towards Mykolenko. Gordon was trying to get in behind. He goes back on the inside into Gomez. Gomez looks forward, just going to drive towards goal. Raya saves. That is the first thing he's had to do, and it stings the top of the fingertips and it goes behind.
Yep, it's shots on target. Raya just showing his teammates that there was a bit of movement in that shot as well. Just swerved a little bit because maybe he would have liked to have held on to that one. It seemed to be straight at him, but there may well have just been a little bit of movement. We'll see from this replay. It's a nice turn, spin and turn there from Andre Gomez, and it just seems to have been dipping a little bit towards Raya.
Yeah, I think he's done the right thing though. I don't personally think that was a shot that he could have saved with both hands. Caught it. I think it dipped a little bit. It moved. Gomez has got plenty of power to turn it away is the best option. So here come Everton again. This time with a whipped ball in towards the near post. Header towards goal. It's in, and it's Yerri Mina. And it's a bullet header, and from a set-piece perspective, I think Brentford will be disappointed. Everton 1, Brentford 0. Frank Lampard's era starts with a first goal, and it comes from a centre-half who, of course, came off the bench.
He came off the bench, but whether it's in the league or in the cup, Brentford's susceptibility to conceding from set-pieces is always very, very apparent. It's just a question of marking. It should be a slightly stronger defence now, of course, with Raya in goal, but that's still his Achilles heel compared to how good he is a shot stopper and how good he is at distributing. He's got to do more when this ball comes in. He gets a little bit too tangled with Anthony Gordon, and then it's effectively a free header there from Mina. And that may just be a little bit of David Raya being rusty because he should have been a little bit quicker to get away from the Everton man there.
Yeah, Lampard's gone berserk because I think in terms of everything you want from an attacking set piece, power on the ball, Gordon does well. This is where I think in terms of the goalkeeper union where everyone gets a little bit frustrated why keepers get everything. If you're David Raya, why not just throw Gordon to the floor?
Well, I think that either that or don't get into a sort of pushing and shoving match with him where he's backing into you. And also, it does beg the question, how often do we see 3 or 4 defenders trying to push away at players who are trying to obstruct their keeper? Raya was left completely on his own there.
Yeah, it's a very good point actually. Why was he so deserted on his own as Everton come forward again? It's out from Gray towards Richarlison. He's got Gordon inside. He's got Allen inside as well. As Richarlison keeps it, tries to go for goal, left-footed curling efforts. You can tell straight away that was going to go nowhere near the target. David Raya didn't even flinch, and it goes closer to the opposite corner flag than it does the frame of the goal. Yeah, well, he opened his body up to try and get it away with his weaker left foot. The trouble was that he really scuffed it with that left foot. Sliced that one quite a long way away, and as you say, it was never really curling. It was just going at a very wide angle away for a goal kick. But Bill Kenwright, he's certainly been through it all as a lifelong Everton fan and, of course, chairman and on the board of directors for many, many years. And another era now for Bill Kenwright to try and get his head round. Yeah, I think for me, for Everton, the last couple of years, it's been too much of a merry-go-round, hasn't it? You need stability. They had that with David Moyes for so many years, and you've got to go and get someone that can lead you, I think, for years to come. Lampard's appointment is a future one, though, isn't it? It's someone they clearly believe for years to come can guide them. Yeah, I think that will be the plan. You certainly don't sign a young manager like Lampard to steady the ship for 6 months. They want him here long term. It does seem as though they're intent on not letting Duncan Ferguson ever have the job full time, although he's, of course, like part of the furniture at Goodison and Finch Farm. But then I think that the other thing as well is that it's a little bit confusing because a few years ago when Everton did get the new owner, it seemed like they were going to be taking over financially these very elaborate plans for this amazing stadium at the Dock. But now all of a sudden their transfer budget just seems to have been reduced a little bit with the signings they made in the summer. I think reduced is being kind. Wasted is the word I'd look for. Even the signings of, obviously, Patterson and Mykolenko, you've given Benitez over £40 million and then you've sacked him 2 weeks later. Absolutely. But then I suppose they did some shrewd business with Townsend and Gray, because Townsend was a free and Gray was a couple of million, so they I think, were good additions to the squad. Yeah, very true, as Gordon has given his team some work to do as he plays it back. Oh, it's a really poor idea from Sergio Canos. And Paul alongside him, he slaps the top of the forehead in frustration because he's just tried to play a 1-2 with Ivan Toney as if Ivan Toney is Usain Bolt and he's the quickest man on the pitch. Why rush it? I just don't get it. I don't know. It's supposed to be a 1-2. It just ended up being a 1. Just ended up being a pass from one player with the other one not getting anywhere near it. So much potential, that pass. Because, again, Everton, that's the second time they've played themselves in trouble on the right-hand side of defence. It's not as if they've been squeaky clean. And Brentford have to show a little bit more composure. Could have tried to take it forward, just like they did there. Another misplaced pass, and it's just hoofed forward from Roslev. Rather than take it in his stride, carrying it 10-15 yards, he kicks it to Jordan Pickford.
Yeah, Brentford are just panicking a little bit now. I said that pass from Canos, and that clearance, it wasn't a pass, it was just a clearance from Roslev in the end, wasn't it? Just showing that Brentford are perhaps a little bit too keen to get rid of the ball. They're very nearly caught out there with a good challenge there from Rico Herney to stop the ball getting through to Coleman, but Everton still in possession.
Yeah, here is Gomez, goes back to Allen. Allen to Keane. Keane now towards Holgate, and Everton just taking their time at the moment. It's 10 minutes to go until half time, and Everton, I wouldn't say they're in total cruise control, but a second goal you'd start to maybe zip the life out of Brentford, who maybe feel it's just not going to be their day at the races. They've not been very ambitious on the ball. I think they need to bring this man into the picture a bit more. Evan Tony, they bring him onto the ball now. This time it's Rose carries it forward a bit longer. This time he waits far too long to play it to Jensen, and the pass was on as well. He delays it, gets caught in possession, and that's frustration as now Everton come forward. The passing is a lot quicker from the top as he goes in towards Richarlison. Jensen's coming across. Oh, big chance. And Richarlison smacks the ball over the crossbar. It was a little bit awkward for him. Jensen was coming across. I don't think he could have headed it, but I didn't expect him to put that much power behind that.
No, I just think because there was a bit of a bounce on this ball, maybe that forced Richarlison to try and hit this in the sort of very acrobatic way that he did. I think if Janssen, I should say, was just a couple of steps further behind, then Richarlison could take a touch, and then I think it'll be a very good chance to make it 2-0.
That's the point you make about Pontus Jansson playing people on side.
Yes, indeed, yeah, because I mean it was close, but Janssen was the only one that was a good two or three steps behind the rest of his teammates.
Yeah, ball back in towards Pontus Jansson, who clears down the line. He was looking for Jensen. It's over him into Holgate. Holgate gets caught in possession by Canos, which is the first real thing he's done for a while, which is needed again. They need him and Tony to work extra hard up front just to try and force something in their favour. As we see Mikalenko now for Everton with the throw. So if you're just joining us off Juicy commentary, Everton 1, Brentford 0, thanks to Yerri Mina's powerful header inside the first half. And it just came at a time when you've probably thought that Brentford were going to have a little bit more joy, a bit more attacking output, and then sucker punched, and the ambition has sort of gone since then. But it's still an Everton team work in progress. No chance this game is over just yet. Here is Gomez. Could it be over now? Oh, great interception. Really important. I think it's Ayer that's put his long left leg out to try and stop that pass getting through. If he doesn't, Paul, it's a one-on-one, and Richarlison's likely to tap in. Yeah, well, it's Rico Henry who gets caught in possession on the halfway line. That gives Everton the chance to get forward. And it was, as I say, a superb last-ditch challenge there from Ayer just to keep the ball away from Richarlison. Yeah, Gomez gets it from Allen. Here's Mikalenko, back to Gomez. Gomez turns away from trouble. Back to Mikalenko again, and he lays it into the middle of the park where Holgate is stood. Here now is Pickford under pressure. Gets it away from Yana. That's a lovely ball from Jordan Pickford. That's just what you want your keeper to do. Take a risk, and when he does it, play a crisp pass out. And here is Mina in towards Gordon. Gordon's going to drive over in towards the penalty area. He goes back into Demari Gray, looking for space. Back to Gordon. Wants a 1-2. Here's Coleman. Coleman ignores the pass down the line. He's open up for a shot. Everton keep toying with the idea of going for goal. Gomez's pass is poor, and Brentford clear towards halfway. Still Everton 1, Brentford 0. And now the only game without a goal is at Molineux. Wolves 0, Norwich 0 in the FA Cup. As Paul said earlier, Cambridge United, Luton at 5:30, Tottenham Brighton at 8 o'clock. Also, there is a Premier League game this evening at 6 as well, isn't there? As Burnley take on Watford. That game also available on our service. Yeah, it's strange that the FA Cup's getting the exposure it perhaps deserves, making the Burnley-Watford game, because of the watershed TV rules, to go after 5 o'clock. Yes, absolutely. And of course, Burnley need to play because they've got so many games to make up. But here come Brentford now finally getting forward in numbers. Yeah, Brentford will be one of those that will be just looking over their shoulder, like Everton, at what Burnley can do, and Watford. A couple of those. Newcastle, Leeds as well. Set input towards Ayer. Now a shot's coming from Canos. Pickford tips it over, and Brentford finally get a shot towards goal. It's a good shot, and Jordan Pickford deals with it. 39 minutes gone. It is a good shot, but Ayer, the one who set Canos up for that shot, is unhappy. He wanted to get that pass back from Canos in a quick 1-2. Because the Dane was in an unmarked position there just over to the right of Canos. But I suppose from Canos' point of view, he's 13, 14 yards out. He can get it onto his right foot. He's aiming for the top corner. So I suppose he's got every right to try and go for it. It's going to be a left-footed cross now from Vitaly Janelt. If it had been Ayer that had shot and he'd not played the 1-2, I can understand. But if I'm Sergio Canos, would I play a 1-2 with a tall gangly centre-half in the
and it's not like
area.
he was 5 yards out. He still had a bit of work to do from 10 or
Yeah.
12 yards anyway. But here comes the corner kick.
Yeah, towards the far post. In fact, it's going to get caught in the wind. Pickford punches. Chance for Brentford. Still not fully clear. Shot's going to come in. It goes over the bar. I think they're going to give a free kick for a push. Pickford's not happy. But the wind, I was going to say earlier, you can see on some of the players that the wind's getting hold of the ball. It's been windy across the United Kingdom the last few days. So Pickford complaining at... Well, I think he's trying to complain at Janssen trying to push across him. Does he get much contact? He gets a little bit to put him off at least.
He does, and I mean Pickford was quite close to the post after he'd completed his dive as well, so maybe he felt as though just a little bit extra there from Pontus Jansson, but certainly Michael Oliver's not too...
First 10 minutes, Pickford pushed Pontus Jansson, and Pontus Jansson pointed in his face, pointed at the ref. That's been coming, that.
Yeah, exactly. But because Brentford have had so little attacking possession, I think that's the first time that Jansson's had a chance to actually get into the penalty area to get anywhere near Jordan Pickford.
Yeah, it's taken 40 minutes for him to get another chance for revenge. But it's revenge that he made it far too apparent that he tried to foul the Everton goalkeeper. He smacked the ball in the air and he's put that much power on it. He's put too much loft. It's gone straight up in the air as the wind gets hold again. Here is Canos, around 25 yards out from goal. Waits for Tony to get back on side. Keane was asking for the offside flag to come up as Tony lays it off into midfield. No ball from Norgard to the far post. Henry heads back. Here is Jan Elchat, look over both shoulders. Eventually gets it laid back. Whipped back towards the far post. It's going to get caught in the air. Pickford doesn't know what to do and eventually realises that it's not going to get anywhere near him. It comes off Gordon. It's a Brentford corner.
Yeah, just a little sustained spell of pressure from the visitors now, albeit it's taken a very long time in this first half, and say that last corner kick causing Pickford a few problems with the wind. This time it's going to be from the left-hand side. It's likely to be the right foot to Matthias Jensen, who needs to step up because his fellow compatriot Christian Eriksen, I think, is earmarked to take over from Matthias Jensen in terms of the set pieces. But Brentford, plenty of players in the box.
Yeah, he's not happy with how he's placed it down at first. That might make a few of the Everton fans a little disgruntled as he gets ready the second time. Referee blows to let him take the set piece. Norgard's right on Pickford's toes. It's floated up into the air. Here comes Aya, headed up and away by Mina. Henry back out towards Canos, who volleys it towards the far post, headed back out by Holgate. Richarlison's going to try and chase it down. He gets ahead of a Brentford player. He's going to get a free kick. It's going to be a yellow card.
It is, yeah. I mean, the Everton players, they were unhappy. I don't think there was ever any danger of that being a red card. I mean, Roslev's got the eyes as if he can't believe he's even got a yellow here, but I think that might have just been for the sake of showing a bit of surprise to the referee. I don't think he can be all that bemused by the decision. He's trying to stop the man, knowing that Richarlison's going to get away from him.
Yeah, good acting, because he does look really disgruntled and surprised at the call, which has been spot on from the official. As here come Everton in possession, a risky pass, and Gomez gets it away, and it goes to the feet of Mikalenko. Out towards the far right-hand side, chested away from Coleman. Coleman with Gordon, a 1-2. Now put into Richarlison. Richarlison back to Allen. Allen to Gomez, who turns it around the corner towards Mikalenko. Left-hand side to Demari Gray. Gray has options both for inside. Goes back, flicks it to Gomez. Wants the 1-2. Gomez turns away, still trying to get space to shoot. Back to Mikalenko on the left-hand side. He whips across to the far post. Nobody in Everton's shirt is there. And Ivan Toney's come all the way back from centre forward to get back and try and keep possession for Brentford. He's done a successful job of that as Brentford clear out for a throw. And it was pretty good movement again from Everton. I've been quite impressed by the close proximity, the fast passing. But, I mean, again, while it's been okay to watch, and I'm sure Everton's fans are entertained, the scoreline suggests that they're not totally home and dry.
No, I mean, a 1-0 lead can always be eroded away, but you just get the feeling that if Everton were to score again, then is there enough about this Brentford team to score twice this afternoon? From what we've seen in this first half, then I would say definitely not. It's been difficult for Brentford to get into any kind of attacking mode whatsoever. So, from Brentford's point of view, just try and look strong and keep as much of the ball as you can for these next few minutes until we are at half-time, and then they have to rethink things over the break, I would say.
Yeah, Janssen gets it from Raya. Minute and a half to go and still just 1-0 to Everton. Rolled out towards this right side for Aya. Janssen gets it back from his fellow defender. Back inside it goes. And Sorensen down the line, hoping for a teammate to open up a bit of space. Norgard still yet to really progress forward here, Brentford. It's all good in terms of keeping possession, but they're going nowhere with it. Now tries to be prodded down the line. Sadly for Brentford, they couldn't get that pass away, and Everton concede the throw. The Bees urge Sorensen to come and take it, so it's more of a long throw option. Norwich have taken the lead away at Wolves, so now every single FA Cup goal, every cup game has a goal. Wait to see what Swanton can do with this throw. He goes with power to Canos, who was trying to leave it for Jensen in midfield. And Everton this time with a throw as Allen is tackled. And it is going to be 30 seconds until the break. But I think Frank Lampard, for his opening first 45 minutes as Everton boss, Paul, were relatively pleased. They haven't been amazing, but they've been pretty dominant.
They have. I think that the one thing you would say about the Everton side in the last few games under Rafa Benitez was there was a distinct lack of confidence. You can't say that about this Everton side. I just say they're not the finished article yet, but they haven't looked confident. And here they come now with Demari Gray.
Yeah, Demari Gray taking Janssen a bit of a tango. He's going to shoot towards goal. He's got the wrong idea. He could have played it. He got his technique wrong. He got underneath the ball and he's whipped it over the crossbar and behind. And that was a real chance to win this second half strongly.
It was Ayer and Janssen making a bit of a mess of their tracking back here because he almost sort of ran away from the ball at one stage where one of them really should have been a bit closer to Demari Gray. Janssen then just about does enough getting his body in the way, and then Jensen coming back, I think, just over the shoulder of Demari Gray, just rushed him into his effort, which goes over the bubble. We're into 3 minutes of injury time.
Yeah, Mikolenko to Pickford. Pickford's clearance is poor. The wind is going to help it. It's the third clearance now from Pickford that hasn't gone right. I think he's tried to apologise, but then at the same time he always looks to be blaming someone else, which is perhaps no surprise to his teammates, as Brentford are waiting for the ball to be retrieved. If it's gone on the Everton end, they've got every right to keep it. Brentford's fans did earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I thought there was certainly during the pandemic, because of the worry of passing on the virus, etc. There was a rule there had to be loads of spare balls around the pitch, and they were being wiped down all the time. It's a shame they've sort of taken that away this season. I've seen a few games this season doing the Old Firm game in midweek as well. I mean, the Ball Boys there at Celtic Park were blatant in trying to just keep the ball away from Rangers. They actually got to complain about it by the end of the game. But in the meantime, a ball into the Everton box. Michael Keane a bit unhappy they're perhaps not getting the shout from Pickford, and he was forced to head out for a corner. Yeah,
some clubs have not brought ball boys back, have they? That's one of the issues. I think Everton clearly today are one of those clubs that have got that plan, as this is the only game, as Paul said, kicked off a little late to get to half-time. As the ball is whipped in towards the near post, it's a poor corner from Brentford. It's going to go straight out for a goal kick, and it is disappointment from Thomas Frank's side, who should have done better, should have put more pressure on, and Janelt's the man that's should be tasked at trying to improve that left-footed in-swinging option. Everton 1, Brentford 0.
Yeah, well, we're looking at the two benches. Certainly from Brentford's point of view, they've got Shandon Baptiste, who could try and perhaps just give a little bit more of a boost in central midfield. They've got Sam Ghoddos, who could go out wide, and Josh Da Silva, who's been out for a very long time with injury. He's back on the bench this afternoon as well. So there are a few options there for Thomas Frank. As far as Frank Lampard, depending on where he would want to make the changes, it's got Kenny perhaps if he felt that Coleman was a little bit slow on a few occasions. Townsend could be coming on as well, but it looks like the referees ended the first half a little bit early there, Tom.
Yeah, so it's half-time, and Yerri Mina's head of the difference at Goodison Park. Join us soon for second half commentary.